Testing. Just want to make sure that this is working. Testing. Just want to make sure that this is working. Alright. I don't do live streaming ever, so I figured I would give this a shot. Today, we are going to try building the Prusa Bear full upgrade kit for one of my Mark III's machines. So before I begin, I just wanted to double check that I have everything here. I got this kit, which is from an official distributor for the Prusa Bear kits. This is MakerParts.ca. And so far, the kit looks fairly good. I don't see any quality concerns whatsoever, although I haven't really inspected it that deeply. All the parts appear to be here. The quality of the extrusion is fairly good. It was cut and then painted, so your ends are nice and black. You know, you don't have that cut off. There were no burrs or filings and in plastic coverings inside here. Very clean, well packed together. All the bags have nice labels as to what's in it. So that is definitely nice. One thing, if I was to say anything bad about the kit, it would be the price. This is simple 2040 V-slot extrusion. Now, based on the build, I don't see a reason that you need V-slot extrusion, although as building this, I may find out a reason why. Perhaps it's just simply because it was, Open Builds is open source, and the Prusa Bear community, likes that sort of thing. I don't have a problem with that. I just know that for almost maybe $5 short of $200 Canadian to get this shipped to me, there isn't a lot here. And you still got to print all the frame parts yourself. And to me, this is a luxury upgrade. I'll leave it at that. So I picked the black because number one, black seems to always be in stock and didn't have to wait so long. And all my Prusa machines that I have right now, I picked obviously you get the black frame and then the black printed parts. I just like that look better. The parts that I will be putting onto the frame are printed in Form Futura Galaxy PLA, and this is space gray. And this is HTPLA from Proto-Pasta, and this is the Highfive blue. And I think this combo together is going to just simply look amazing. So I have not pre-read any of the instructions. I only looked up what I needed to print in order to get ready for this. So today we will try and at least assemble the frame. I may need to walk away from the screen setting to grab a tool or two, but I think I got most of the stuff that I need. I have a tablet in front of me with some instructions, and we're gonna just simply get to it. All right. Instructions seem to be fairly good. I'll post a link to where I'm getting all this information, but if you search for Prusa Bear in Google, it's going to take you to a Thingiverse link, and then while you go through the write-up in the Thingiverse link, you're going to find a link to the GitHub page where all of this is posted. And this upgrade comes in two different versions. There's a full and a half. I'm just going all out for the full. And you can do it for the Mark II, Mark 2.5, and the Mark III or Mark III's. So there's really good instructions here from what I see. They must just be taken from snapshots from whatever CAD software they were using. So without further ado, let's start. So I need two pieces at 331 mils. Which one is that going to be? 370, 331. That one. And that one. Put these aside for now. Put this here. Okay. Then we got to take our corner pieces. One of the things I was worried about, because I've seen some Prusa Bear upgrades online, and they did the black frame, but they still use just regular unpainted angle plates. And I was definitely happy I didn't have to go ahead and paint these. So, bonus. So I'll need 4 of these guys. I apologize if the camera is shaking or out of focus. It is simply, I'm using OBS for my streaming and a simple Logitech C920 webcam. So what it does while I'm building, if it is unsightly, I do apologize. Alright, so we need some T-nuts. And which screw is that? The M5 by 10s. We have T-nuts and M5 by 10s. Perfect. Spill a few of these out. One of the other things I am noticing is that these screws are pretty. It's going to be hard to see on the camera, but they are nice and oiled up and they're nice black. I like that. Attention to details. One of the things that I saw when watching 3D Maker Noob's his upgrade video to the Bear is that he advised that we test all these T-slot nuts here to ensure that the screw is threading on. That way, you know, you're not gonna get partially through your build and you're gonna have a T-nut that's stuck in the middle that you can't screw into. Seems to be pretty good. Now, does it matter which way you screw this in? Yeah, we'll just do the shiny side up. Okay. 231. Alright. 2 on that side. 2 on that side. Make that the bottom. Here. 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 Take our piece, angle bracket, take our screw and see if we can catch it. Perfect. Now I understand that the goal of this is not to tighten these up all the way right now. Simply just to go. And I'll move my assembly over just a little bit here. So apparently this kit is officially made by LDO Motors and sold through specific retailers. MakerParts.ca is definitely on that list. And to note, I am a big fan of supporting the designers and main distributors uh, of 3D printed products. Uh, for instance, when I do my builds and do upgrades, I stick to, if I'm doing an E3D hot end, I'm buying parts officially made by E3D. And the reason I do that is so that they can continue innovating and making more cool products. There's nothing wrong if you choose to do the Chinese clone route. As I mentioned, something like this is fairly expensive, and I have 4 Mark III printers. I can definitely not afford to do all 3 of my machines with this upgrade. And with this upgrade, I still plan on doing the Mosquito Bondtech kit designed specifically for the Mark III. It isn't out yet, but I've seen some live streams with some of the help designers, testing them out, and when that comes out, I'll definitely jump on board. Reason being, I've used Bondtech extruders for the majority of my printers, and they're fantastic. And the Mosquito hot end, while I haven't tried it yet, looks awesome for removing nozzles, cold or hot, so that the groove mount doesn't twist. That is fantastic. Alright, what size do I have here? Now we're supposed to take a 370 millimeter, and that is what we got here. And we lay this like this one like this. We're supposed to connect it like that. So, I'll just take the tablet here. Hopefully when I do a few more of these live streams and maybe get an audience, I can communicate with people in the chat. That would definitely keep the conversation going. Okay. A 70 millimeter piece. If I was looking from the bottom, I'd be looking at the exact same thing. Okay. So, we're supposed to sit 3 T-nuts. Quite a few T-nuts, okay. So, 1, 2, 3. Slide those in. The reason we're doing this now is once we put this cap on there on both ends, you will not be able to get these in. So while I'm looking at this kit here, it's the 2040 extrusion size. For those that don't know, 2040 simply is 20 millimeters this way, 40 millimeters that way. Length is obviously your preference for whatever project you're doing. And they come in larger varieties. For instance, the Prusa machines, They're made of 30-30, and they can get quite large, so essentially that's 30 mils each way. Okay, so we got 3 on this side, 3 on that side. Guess we haven't connected these yet, so 1, 2, 3. 2, 3. All right. Next step. All right. Now, in order to screw these together, you'll need to put quite a few T-nuts. That'd be 6 in total. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm going to do these upside down. Probably would help to prop this other side up. There we go. So it doesn't say specifically, at least I haven't seen it yet, on how tight you're supposed to make these, but I imagine in order to get your frame straight, you'd want to keep these fairly loose at this point, not just to go crazy on them. Some of these nuts are definitely harder to attach than others. So from my understanding, when we connect these frames, these cuts are fairly straight and they are fairly identical. I mean, maybe that's one benefit to paying a little bit more for the kit. Cuts seem fairly good, so I'm going to, at least for this portion, trust that all these cuts are perfect 90s, and we're just going to attach them as they are, feeling the brackets for a nice finger flush fit. So I'll tighten up this one here. Feels fairly good. Tighten that one up. Yeah, that feels fairly good. Alright, 1. Do this other side. Oh, oops. That seems fairly tight. Now, next step. Need one of the 370s. Ensure the 290 V slot does not have any sharp edges. Alright, what's the 290? This is the small dude here. That is 290. No sharp edges. So definitely nice thing to note, these edges, they're not only are they cut, but they may have been deburred. I don't see any signs of filing, but I think care has been taken to ensure that there's nothing sticking out, so that your build's going to be nice and flat. Now, this apparently supposed to fit inside, and it doesn't quite. See, there we go. Getting ahead of myself here. Ensure the V-slot doesn't have any sharp edges. Place it in between, square and tight, strongly at the back. Carefully remove that T-slot. Okay. Alright, so mistake number 1. Move that one. There we go. Alright, so line up this V-slot in the back. So if I do that, That still feels flush, so I must have just been like a quarter millimeter off from having this thing where it needed to be. So I think what would make this kit even better is just like on the CR10, the holes that are in the V slot, these here, where they connect, where these brackets are, so when they connect into the extrusion, there was a hole drilled from this side going straight through the extrusion into these to hold it tight. That would, if they were pre-drilled and pre-marked uh, for these, it would make assembly a whole lot easier. And in my opinion, it's uh, preferred for people that, I don't mind this build, but there are people that may want to build this not only quicker, but take their guesswork out of it and their alignment if they don't have all the tools. You can just put it together quickly. The CR10, I've built one before, and when I say I built one, I bought the box, I put the Y and Z gantry onto the X and the Z onto the Y with 4 screws, one of these little guys or something very similar, and that was it. That was a simple build. And I think that's one of the reasons why the CR10 is just so popular. It's easy to build, and the print quality is fantastic. Okay. So, once again, place the 290V slot in the back between there. Ensure there's no gap. Square and tight, tight strongly the back 8 M5. Back 8. What are the back 8? Because I see 10 here. Carefully remove it. Add 14 nuts explained in figure 2. So this looks like it is upside down. I'm going to have to go like this to match the picture. We need to add more of these guys. One, two. One, two. Oop. What am I doing? Two. Move that guy there. That guy there. Continuing on. Aha, that's what those are for. The picture already shows it, that these guys are installed already. But it hasn't told me to put them in yet, so we won't do that, because we already had to backtrack. So ensure the 290, yeah, it's not even in the assembly instructions. You just may have not taken it out. No, I'm completely wrong. I don't know if you can see this. So instructions here show, looked like a little corner. This guy here, but that's just the angle bracket from underneath. So another noob mistake. Alright, so next piece is going to go on. So that that piece, that one. Okay. This guy's gonna line up here. Seems fairly straight. That guy's gonna go in there to keep it tight and snug. Okay. Let us take this assembly, rotate, take our. So we're gonna need 6 more of these guys. Three, 4, 5, 6. I guess one of the things I should be talking about is why am I doing this upgrade? So I don't want to get my information wrong here, but I believe the issue 602, call it issue 602 in the Prusa community, and that is inconsistent extrusion lines, widths, and that can be attributed to quite a few things. One of them being the frame. As the machine's doing its movements, the frame can wobble ever so slightly in between motions, with the bed moving the mass of the print and the head going back and forth. You can get extrusion issues. Now these parts here, I printed them on the machine I'm about to take apart and upgrade, and without me getting too close on these, it's hard to get the right lighting on there, But these aren't good prints to test or show that issue because it's glitter, or there's some sort of glitter in here, and when you have those types of filaments, it is impossible not only to see a lot of imperfections, but even the layer lines you can barely see. So, but I have printed many things where you can see that there is inconsistent extrusion, and I have a fairly large printing order in place right now where I can't have that. The quality doesn't match what I would want to send to somebody else, and I would never actually would send that to anybody. So, and I'm not saying it's bad quality. These Prusa machines, for what you pay, you get fairly good value. You get auto leveling, you get a really good heated bed. You have a fantastic community, and when you're supporting Joseph Prusa and Prusa 3D or Prusa Research, they do fantastic work in the community. So instead of, like I said, this is an opinion of mine, but I have no problem with someone buying a Chinese printer. I won't lie. I've bought many kits like that, and they're fairly good kits. Like the CR10 is great. You've got people like TiVo that have made some interesting machines, like the Tarantula was one of the first Chinese printer that I bought, and that was a fantastic printer. Still works to this day. Not for me. I got rid of it, but still working fairly strong, and I actually printed some very high quality parts with that. The CR10, I don't personally own it. My cousin did, and that printer too is fantastic. And then what seems to happen in the Chinese printer space is there's a bunch of companies out there like G-Tech, ANET, TiVo. They seem to copy each other quite a lot. So every time someone comes up with a new printer, you get that type of printer launched from everybody. Almost different colors that they come out with, but other than that, it's the same thing. And I don't like that. That's just a lot of cloning and making stuff for the cheapest buck. That hurts 3D printing spaces for different companies out there. So, for instance, I won't say that Chinese printers are the only thing that hurt this company, but PrinterBot, I absolutely love PrinterBot, or loved them. They are no longer in business. PrinterBot. My first printer was a PrinterBot. It was made of laser cut wood. It didn't have drive belts. It actually used fishing string around a sanding disc from a Dremel to make the motions back and forth. And back when I bought that, I want to say that was 2013, something like that. The printers for that size, it was only 4 inches by 4 inches by 4 inches. And that kit, I believe, cost somewhere around 600 bucks. That's a lot of money for that kind of a printer. And with that money, Brooke Drum, the owner of PrinterBot, was able to make the PrinterBot Simple Metal. I think it was called Simple Metal, and that thing was amazing. And then from there, he got to make the Simple Pro, and there are a couple other models in between there. And just really good innovation coming out of there. Unfortunately, with other printers out on the market, it's very difficult to compete when companies out of China are making $200 printers. And to be honest with you, you get what you pay for out of those printers. It's awesome to get up in printing fairly quickly, but fairly quickly you realize the amount of tinkering and upgrades that you're going to want to do if you join a Facebook group. Those printers, they're not supported by the companies that sell them to you. The only type of support you're going to get is if you ordered it and it didn't show up, once it shows up, they really do not care about how that printer is going to work for you. So the Facebook groups are the places that are going to keep you going. So if you're a go-getter and you like to tinker with things, by all means, go for it. They usually have 3D printed upgrades, and that's what a lot of people wind up doing. They buy a 3D printer and then they get stuck with upgrade-itis almost. They just keep printing parts for their own printers. And my Prusa machines are completely stock. I've put over 400 hours of print time on each machine. I mean, that doesn't mean a lot, but I had printed this Godzilla. This is designed by Chaos Core Tech, I believe, and this was printed on one of my Mark IIIs. It takes 16 hours to do this, with stock Prusa slicer settings and just generic PLA, but it turned out absolutely fantastic. But those printers, I didn't have to do anything. I bought it, I built it, and they have stayed perfect from that time. Now, save for this upgrade here. The other thing I wanted to do is I like seeing what else is out there in the printing space. So I've tried things like the TiVo Tornado. That is a CR10 clone, I would call it. Very similar parts that these companies are using, brackets to mount things. They may add their own type of extruder. For instance, TiVo uses a lot of E3D clone products, whereas Creality has stuck to, I forget that type of extruder. I don't know what it's called, but it's nothing awesome, but it works. It's reliable. There, I think seems fairly straight. There's no play. Nice and stiff here. Oh, gotta tighten up some of these screws. But anyway, going back to printers that have been out there. So I started with the PrinterBot Simple Makers Edition. And that, like I said, was made out of wood. And then from there, I used that for like 2 years, and then I upgraded to the TiVo Tarantula. That was their first model. That printer was dirt cheap at that time, so I think I paid $380 for it, and this is all Canadian dollars here. And then shortly after I built that, I have a good friend from my workplace. He also bought a printer bot, and then I had shown him my TiVo Tarantula, and we did some searching online, and then there's another Chinese company called HE3D, and they had a identical clone to the TiVo Tarantula for even cheaper. I think it was listed at $189 Canadian, and then to get it to your house, probably by the time it's all said and done, was they put 300 Canadian, and that kit was just as good. I was quite impressed with it, and so was he. And so it just kind of shows you how, those printer kits out there from the Chinese makers, they keep undercutting and undercutting and undercutting each other until eventually these printers are cheap. They're so cheap that it's hard to pass up. Even I couldn't resist. But you build it and you learn that, my goodness, you got to put a lot of work into those things in order to get the print quality that you would get off of a Prusa that you just put together following their awesome instructions. Okay. Are you kidding me? Did I miss a step? I didn't think I did. So we've got one. We got my 3 guys on the side. They suggest we put 2 in here, 2 in there. We'll do here. So I skipped a step because I didn't print these parts yet, and I'll do that. But it's on the corners of the bottom of the printer where those orange pieces are. It's a printed foot. And there's different types of materials that you can print that out of, but I would print it out of a TPU of sorts, and those get installed on these 4 corners. So when the time comes, I'll just pull these screws out, drop that print in, and put these back in. Okay. So continuing on, I put those in, next step. Now, 4 T-nuts. Screw the 4 black angle connectors. In the corners. Oh, I get it. It's just at an angle. Alright. That screw is a 8. That's a M5 by 8. So these guys here. Nice. So we get to put these guys on. And that's what those T-nuts are for. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I do apologize for that shaking camera again. Okay. Let's put these on. Start off easy. What? What is goofy about that? These different? Unless I am wrong, screw the 4 black angle corners on each corner as seen in figure 4. 14. Let's check the frame is not twisted by pressing down on each corner of the V-slots. Place an object under one corner and apply pressure simultaneously. Repeat this for left and right. Strongly tight frame screws and check other screws as well. Okay, so these are supposed to be 8mm. I'm going to quickly go grab my caliper. just grab from the wrong bag? Am I not paying attention? I am not paying attention. Those are M5 by 10s. Here we go. M5 by 8. We want these. Put that back. Let's try this again. Much better. So, interesting thing is that I told you to ensure that you check each T-nut. And what do? I don't check them. I'm just hoping they work. Alright, you'll want to make sure that these are flush on the edges. To this point, this whole thing is symmetrical. So, I don't believe there's a dedicated front or back. Yeah, so far this kit's going together pretty good. Not gonna lie, doing a build while trying to focus on a live stream isn't maybe the easiest thing. There we go. At least I don't have the perfect setup for it. I'm just making do with the gear I got. Okay. Now, it says double check everything is nice and tight. So, no wobble, no wobble. Little wobble, but I believe that could be my actual table. Everything here was built according to the instructions. Made sure it was nice and tight. Alright. These all seem to be pretty tight. Bingo was his name-o. Okay. Turn that over. Now, 4 self-tapping screws. If you are not using from a kit from our Fitu, this step is only if you are not using. This step is only if you're not using an official. Oh, look at that. Those are tapped. Perfect. So it says this is 359 millimeters. I trust it, but we'll double check. According to this guy, we're at 359, maybe a tinge short, but as long as this guy's the same, I reckon it don't matter. Yeah, same thing. Okay. Next step. Alright, so we need the 290 V slot. We need these 2 V slots. We need 6 90-degree joining plates. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We need 18 M5 by 10s. We don't need any of none of these. Okay, so we're back to these. So we need 18. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4, 5, 6. 18. And then we need 18 T-nuts. Put that there. 3, 4. 4, 5, 6. There we go. So, if you did not get your kit from our official distributors, you might have to file some sharp edges. Assemble 2 359 V slots with one 290 millimeter V slot. So we're going to just put this guy down here for now. Take one of these guys, one of these guys. Take this guy like this. It's going to go on the inside and to the top, the inside and to the top. Important to note, tapped holes to the top. They both tapped? Nope. So I had that right. Lucky. Does it say to tighten them up? Oh, let's see. I'm going to put 4 on the top. Three on this side. This dude is gonna go on there. Alright. Things I wish I had. Precision square. Fairly good to me. Oh, this is not a precision square. I'm just using it for eyeballing sake, and it seems like they're fairly good. I don't have a precision square. Got a big builder's square, and that's not what you want for this. Tighten these down. Alright, how's it look? Okay, so now the next image shows these are going to go on here. In this fashion. So we're going to need one, two. Yes, John, do this the hard way. Smart. Smart, smart, smart. Sorry you can't see this in the camera. Just attaching this last corner plate. If I do any more live streaming, I will have a downward facing camera. There we go. Those on there. I didn't snug them up. Didn't say to. To be honest, it didn't say. Assemble the last 4 times. Assemble the 4x latest 90-degree joining plates as seen in figure 6.4. Make sure the tapped holes are on the end of the 300. Extrusions are on the top. Okay, next step. So we need one build helper. That is a 3D printed part called the build helper. We need one frame bottom. That would be this. We need one frame z-axis, which is what we just built. We will need 12 M5 by 10 mil screws. And that is these. 1, 2, 4, 5. 1, 2, 4, 5. 1, 2. Now, let's just make sure we didn't screw this up. 3. 3. 3. 3. Alright. Double check the length of your build helper corresponds to 106 mils exactly. That is a good point. I did not check that. But it is 106. 106. Adjust the 100 distance on the left. Imagine. Oh yeah, I see how this works. We're going to position that like so. I'm going to come closer. Hopefully that makes. We'll go with that. Harder for me, nicer for you. Adjust the 106 millimeter distance on the left side using the build helper 106 millimeter as seen in picture 7.2. Ensure the z-axis is perfectly square. Strongly tighten the M5 screws. This step is very important. Double check everything is perfectly square. Adjust the 106 on the right side using the build helper. Just swap it as seen in the picture. Ensure the z-axis is perfectly square. Strongly tighten the M5 screws. This step is very important. Okay. Wonder. We're just going to go for it. Just put these in loosely for now. All I got is a speedy square. So that'll have to... That's fairly good. We use that. We will do that. One tip when you're trying to put a screw into a nut, if you set the screw onto the nut and you rotate it the opposite direction, once the threads line up, you're actually going to feel it just snap right in. So once you feel that, then you can start screwing it in and you know you won't get any cross-threading going on. That side is in loose. Won't lift it from there. That was a nice snug fit. That's tight. And we appear to be square. Next side. So we will just fit that on in the back and a little off square. It could be a pain in the butt, but we're gonna give it a shot. Snug that up a little more. This 106mm gauge fits nice and snugly right to where it's supposed to fit on both sides. Checking with the square shows that I am nice and square. Maybe this frame is definitely solid. Liking that. A little bit bigger than the camera can show. Shoot. Forgot 2 T-nuts in the front. But we can definitely add them once it comes time. Next step. Now we're going to need 4 rod holders. And that, we got 1, 2, these guys. Man, that's beautiful. They got this nice slot here where the T. Man, does that fit nicely. That's going to look good. So we need 4 of those. We need the smooth rods, which I'm going to have to go and collect from that printer. And then we have 8 M5 by 12 mil screws. And that is this bag here. 8. We're going to need 9 T-nuts. That's 9 plus the 2 that I apparently forgot. Okay, and then beautiful. All right. So we're going to put that there. We're going to sit this frame here for now. These parts, and I'm going to go get the Prusa. All right, now we're going to take it apart. I'm going to start by taking the wires out of the control panel. I need my snips. Garbage. There's only 2 wires. That's the thermistor for the heated bed, and then the heated bed power leads themselves. I just need a Phillips screwdriver. Alright. Official Prusa screwdriver. Not Prusa branded, that's just what they sent with it. Alright. Try disconnecting the belt without taking too much of the printer apart. Loosen this guy. There we go. Got the belt. That aside. Once the belt is off, we should be able to just pop out the Y rods. So we're going to attempt that. 1, 2, 3, 4. There we go. Liberated. Put that aside. We shouldn't need this machine for a bit yet, so I'll put that down. Back to this guy. and it doesn't do it. I don't trust this table at all. Alright. Y rod holder. We're going to be placing it in the front like so. So then we're going to need 2 T-nuts. 2 of these guys. Okay, so they got specific instructions as to where these have to sit. Tape measure I put over here. So 82 millimeters from this side, 252 millimeters from this side. So set this up. That's 82 exactly. This should be 252. 252 exactly. Beautiful. Guess we'll do the back side here. Let's start with the 252. $252? 82. Not quite. Double check. 82 on the dot. 82 on the dot. 252 on the dot. 252 on the dot. Okay. Next one. They want me to take the rods already, so I'm going to pull these out. I'm going to take the opportunity to clean these. Beautiful. I'm going to grab some cleaning product. So from my understanding, these are hardened steel rods, and there shouldn't be any marring on them from bearings. Although I do see some markings. I can't say if that is from the bearings, because I didn't check them out when I first got the kit. Oh, look at that. Larry's in the chat. Hey, Larry. That'll fit nice and tight in there. So the drawing shows that the rods should be 90. I don't know if that'll focus. The rod should be 90 to each beam. I don't know how you're going to check that. The rod to the top piece here, you can't put a square from this to this. Or you can't put a square from this to this or this to this. As long as you've got your measurements here on both sides, this should line up just perfectly. Better not ask me to snap these rods in. Okay, so we're going to do the next guy. It'll be 82 mils from that side as well. So let's drop 2 more in. So I guess maybe a question one would ask me would be, why did I decide to buy Prusa printers? Well, obviously a lot of YouTube influence played a large part in that. Ever since I was 3D printing, I watched YouTube for tips and tricks. There wasn't a lot going on in 3D printing at that time, and I didn't know what RepRap was. So the digital angle finder would have been amazing. Didn't think of that at all. But I was in the printing scene quite early, and I heard of the Prusa i3, iteration 3, or Prusa i3 Mendel. I can't quite remember what it was called, but Prusa Research themselves weren't releasing their own products, at least not to my knowledge. You had to get everything on eBay and AliExpress in order to make these kits. So I had started off with the printer bot simple, and while that was good, that was kind of like a first gen 3D printer. And not to say I didn't know much about tweaking, but PrinterBot made a really detailed instructions. You could print from there, and I was fairly happy with what I thought was good printing results. And so I stepped up my game and I got a little bit of a bigger printer because 4x4x4 in today's standards is not large enough of a printing area. And so that was the TiVo, and with the TiVo, like I said, when you buy a Chinese printing kit, a lot of the kits are supported by the Facebook community. And so a lot of guys on the Facebook groups tried a lot of different mods, and you try them out yourself, and you could print everything in order to make it work. And eventually you'd have a nice kit. But eventually something would fail, and get a jam up on one of the hot ends, or the extruder gear would stop feeding, or you'd start getting oscillation in in your print as it went up, so your Z would wobble quite a bit. And I was just finding that I was tinkering a lot more than I was wanting to print. So maybe one of the bigger influencers was Thomas. I can never say his last name. Sandlander. We'll just call him Tom. He's got a good YouTube channel, and he had a review of the Mark II, Prusa Mark II, many years after I had started printing, and that printer got crazy good reviews, and not just from Tom. That was a lot of people in the printing community online really like those printers. It seems to be nice and tight. Really liking the blue on the black here. Anyway, so those printers got a lot of reviews. I wanted to buy one, but at the time I think they were $7.99 a printer. That's US, and you convert that to Canadian. The dollar was terrible at the time, so it was almost $1,000. And I'm looking at it, I'm like, man, you still got to build it, and it's $1,000. That is crazy. So I never wound up pushing play on buying that. Then they announced the Mark III. I want to say that might have been late 2017. The Mark III came out, and the reviews for that were crazy as well because the bed leveling, the pin to probe features that the Mark III had. It had the flex plate system built in already. It was fairly good. So after I had decided, I was done tinkering with printers, I made the leap and I bought a Mark III, built it, and I started getting amazing results out of the box. Build the kit as it was, everything was good to go. And I managed to get print jobs through the place I work at and from some other customers. And I had enough orders to sustain a purchase of another two Mark IIIs. At the time when I purchased these Mark IIIs, the lead time on them, you'd have to wait 3 months plus to get it. And so I got those printers. I'm very happy with them. Every single one of them. I haven't had any issues except on one printer. I had a dead print cooling fan. After a certain amount of time, it just stopped spinning. It got a short in the cable, so when it got to the right side of the printer, it would stop. And the printer is smart enough to recognize when the fan RPMs dip, and it kept going into failure. So, good, I guess, point to make is that I had contacted Prusa, and they immediately sent me out a fan. Just by me describing, I sent them a picture on chat. Yeah, your fan's dead. Here's another one. I got it within a week, and the printer is back up and running. So, you may be able to see from here. I'll just tilt the camera up just towards the back there. I've got two of the Mark III sitting here, and I got this one here that I'm obviously transferring over. Well, back down. Perfect. So I went with Prusa based on reviews, on the reliability of the machines and the print quality. And I'll be honest, I haven't been let down. I haven't had to change anything. The customers that I've given prints to, they're always happy. And these things are super quiet. So this office that I'm standing in is directly beneath my wife and my bedroom, and you cannot hear these printers when they're printing. And they even have a silent mode yet, and you can't hear a thing. So, works for the family, works for the business. Super happy with it. Then people start making these mods, and some of the issues that I realized that I was having with the printer with inconsistent extrusion lines, is a result of a less sturdy frame. So when you have this frame here, well, it's built fairly well. This is a big thick piece of aluminum, and these extrusions are screwed straight into it. You can still flex the frame quite a bit, and I believe it does that on its own as the print bed is going back and forth and the head is going back and forth here. It just happens. So with this frame, the reviews say that this is a fantastic upgrade, and I like to try different things. So here we are. Okay. Now that I got that done, we're just going to double check our measurements before we go on to the next step. I put my tape measure right here. 82, 82, 82, 82. And then it should be 134 in between. I hope that's not a print defect, but mine says 135. We will snap this on and just see what happens. I think that moves. That moves fantastic. I don't know if you can hear it. I guess the mic rods are loud, but this is working pretty good. So I think we are measured just perfectly for that. I don't know if they're going to ask me to put the bed on yet, but we may give it a shot. Ah, okay. Y motor. That is where I'm going to have to take these nuts off, these corner pieces, and slide a new piece in there. The T-nut that I apparently forgot. So that for the... Man, where in the instructions did it say that? Can't believe I missed that. Take this off. This is the back. That's where the motor mount's going to go, and that gets one screw here, one T-nut here, and one on the top. Just take this one. I forgot another one, of course. Of course, those don't fit in afterwards. So hopefully anybody watching the stream is going to learn from my mistakes. Apparently I don't know how to follow directions. 82. 82. Right, and then we'll put this corner back on, and hopefully we don't have to do that again. Excellent. Oh, come on. All right, back on track. Now we need the Y motor mount, and we're going to need to put the motor on it. So back to the Prusa. Down for a second. So need to do some wire snipping. I had pliers here. Also, the cable management on the Prusa Mark III, they put a lot of thought into that. Very happy with that process. Although when I was building my third Mark III, I stopped paying proper attention to instructions like, oh yeah, I remember this. And as I was building, I put a zip tie in the wrong place and realized I forgot to include this LCD ribbon cable in there. So I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna snip the zip ties, and I did, and accidentally cut into the ribbon cable. That sucked. Because then I couldn't use the LCD. I actually had to print tethered from the computer until the replacement cable came in that I just simply bought off of Amazon. Alright, so Z motor. Z. Y motor. Right. Right. It screws on from the back. Yes, got it. One of the things I'm excited about is after I get this Barrett upgrade completely done, what I do wind up with is a bunch of Mark III parts. And I'm hoping with that, I can kind of use that frame and 3D print if I need to some parts, because I have lots of extra printing pieces, like motors, extruders. I'll turn that old Mark III into another printer. Why not? Alright. Now, instructions say to place this with the motor cables down. Screw the Y motor on the back of the frame. Are these the same screws? 3 screws. 3 M3 by 10. 2 from the original Y motor, 1 from original Z. 2 from the original Y motor mount, which I have here. somewhere. Where'd they go? There we go. And one from the original Z motor mount. Okay. So we're supposed to take one of these screws. That's nice. I like that kind of stuff. Perfect. Good instructions so far. I just need to follow them better. Alright. Also, so far my printed parts are well done. Everything's coming out to spec. Another good thing, I never had to dial in my dimensional accuracy on my Mark IIIs. They were just perfect right from the get-go. I printed a calibration cube, used my calipers, and I was 0.02 of a mil off. Now, I could have spent a lot of time and dialed that in, but for me and the customers that I have, that's completely fine. Hmm. Oh, does that fit good? That is amazing. I think we're gonna have to wind up taking the motor hob thing off in order to get at that screw behind there. Unless we literally actually have to mount this thing first. Probably. See? I'll make mistakes of following instructions. What do we got for time? Wow, 10:50. That is going to go on with M5 by 10. We have M5 by 10. This thing is supposed to be 54 millimeters from this. Right there. Alright, let's get this motor on. Cable down. Alright. Got that motor mounted. Cable coming over. And this guy. Now we need to do the front, and that's where I forgot the additional 2 T-nuts. Thought I had taken both of those out of the bag. Alright. Oh, did I make that tight? Phew. PSU lower mount. I am not sure which one that is. That looks like this guy. Alright, let's get this guy attached. In order to attach that, we're going to have to take it off of this printer here. So this is the original Y idler. Just took off the bearing. And you can reuse the nut that was in the side there. Now the instructions doesn't say that. But we're going to do it. Let's get a plier. Go. Put the idler back in. That's not the screw. That's the screw. There, that spins nice. We'll get this mounted. These, yep. Yeah, I think this goes the other way. That. It actually doesn't show a picture how this is supposed to go on, but I imagine it's going to be like this. And this needs to be 160 millimeters from the edge. Yep. Seems to line up nicely with the back. And that, I believe, is where we're going to call it a night for the first part of this build. Tomorrow should be able, yep, we'll see. Possibly tomorrow, get back and try and finish this thing up. So tomorrow the plan is to get the bed mounted. Man, does that go on smoothly? So we'll get the bed mounted up. We're also going to be doing the nylock leveling modification to this bed. That's taking out all of these, you can show it, all these little, right there, you can see it, the metal standoffs. Those are spacers. Even though the Prusa does auto level, we want to try and tram this bed in as best as possible. So we're going to replace those with nylocks, and then using a utility on the Raspberry Pi, we're going to map out where our highs and low spots are, and then dial that in so that we have as little deviation in the bed as possible. That way when it's doing its auto leveling, it's not correcting with the Z motors as much. We can get it dialed in a lot better than what it came with. So we'll give that a shot, and we'll get the Z motors on. So just for reference, here's those brackets. I think with this color on black, things are starting to look pretty good. And unfortunately, because I ran out of that filament, everything else will be with this. I think it was Galaxy Space Gray. And we'll finish those off. So the parts that we have in Space Gray are the front LCD panel. We've got the power supply, shroud, and then we have, this is the updated case. My printers didn't come with this version. We'll use this case, and this one has the RPi axis in the back right here, as well as I'm going to use these blue pieces because I think it looks cool. Wow, drop it. For the cable clamps. So the one that came with my printer just had you do the zip tie. This one will allow you to screw it in nice and tight. And this particular guy eventually is going to get an MMU2 upgrade for it. But I want to get that working properly on my other machine first. So we will continue on another stream. Thank you much. Bye.